Do you think ghosts are real? The man asked. The girl was lying in bed with a sheet pulled up over her head. I really wish he would be quiet, she thought. She hated scary stories about things that went bump in the dark. I think they are, the man continued. I think after we die, we can choose to come back. The girl clutched her teddy tight against her chest. Please be quiet. But what kind of person would do that? Come back from the dead, I mean. Do you think they would be good or bad? She squeezed her eyelids together and tightened her mouth. Why is this important? Why can't you just leave the question unasked? Personally, I'd say they were bad. Think about it. If they were good, there'd be stories like grandmother's spirit saves family from car accident, or man who died in forest helps lost child find their way out. Thunder boomed beyond the window to the right-hand side of the girl's bed, sending a shiver along her spine. I don't care whether they're good or bad. I just want you to stop talking. Heavy rain began pelting the glass. But those aren't the kind of stories you hear about, are they? The ones you hear about are always frightening specters who met bitter ends, haunting creepy old buildings or dark tunnels. He was silent for a moment, then added, That sure doesn't sound like something a good person would do to me. The fine hairs on the back of the girl's neck stood on end. I don't want to hear any more. But then you've got to wonder, if they're not good people, then why are they here? What have they come back for? Floorboards creaked around the room as the man traveled around. Maybe they're sad, or filled with regret. The creaking came to a halt alongside the bed. Or perhaps they're angry about how they died and want to make others suffer like they did. The mattress sunk to one side as the man sat down. To keep herself from sliding into the dip, the girl pulled her trembling knees into her chest and scooted back. She didn't dare expose herself to the world outside the blanket. Please, please, stop talking. Please. Her eyes welled up with tears. But you still haven't answered my original question. The man leaned forward. Now the girl could sense his head hovering inches above hers. Do you think ghosts are real? The girl's body tensed hard. With a frail, trembling voice, she said, I don't know. 4 pale fingers reached beneath the top of the sheet. Would you like to find out? Keep calm and stay away from knives. That's what my grandma always told me. Keep calm and stay away from knives. She always knew where she had me, even when I lost myself. Even when I started hurting myself. Even when I felt like a lost little girl who didn't belong anywhere. I hated the world, and it hated me back. But not my grandma. She was the only one who truly understood me. Keep calm and stay away from knives. My fiancé seemed like the kind of guy who'd get me, who could really learn how to love me, and in turn could teach me how to love him. For a while it worked. I was lulled into a false sense of companionship, a frail, superficial bond never meant to last. I guess it's the age-old human lie, isn't it? The kind we tell ourselves so we can look the other way, so we can justify our own inability to act. He didn't really hit me, I just walked into his fist. He's not manipulative and controlling, I'm just weak and codependent. In the end, I'm the problem, not him. Flogged and flayed and flagellated, that's how they leave us. My grandma knew this, because for the longest time she was one of us. But she kept calm and stayed away from knives. And when she learned I was the same, she taught me how to stay away too. Keep calm and stay away from knives, she'd whisper to me when my mom wasn't listening. Sometimes it'd be hard, nigh fucking impossible. I'd pick one up every now and again, feel the weight of it in my hand, practice hiding it in my pants, pulling it, stabbing and thrusting at shadows that bled me-shaped tears. But then I'd remember, and then I'd put it down. Stay away from them. Keep calm. Be smart. That's the thing, you know. My grandma was the smartest person I ever knew, but you'd never guess it from looking at her, or talking to her. On the outside, she radiated this ignorance, this aura of dumb kindness and innocence. And I guess that's why they never looked too closely at my grandfather's death. Just a car accident. One of those things. Brakes fail all the time, statistically speaking. Besides, he never had any enemies. Sweetest guy you'd ever meet. Unless you met him alone. Unless you happen to be my grandma. I kept calm, my grandma told me, and I stayed away from knives. She was a good woman, my grandma. Always found the best in people. In an imperfect world, I'd be able to honor her wishes. But this world isn't perfect, and neither am I. I can't help myself. I have to look him in the eyes when it ends. I have to feel his life slipping. I have to hear every pained gargle. Inflict a lifetime of torment. I kept calm, Grandma, but I couldn't stay away from knives. So why do you think you're here? Because y'all think I'm a freak. The doctor waited while his assistant, a pretty young woman, wrote something in her pad. Of course we don't. The assistant wrote more. Don't you think it has something to do with your parents? I shrugged. The doctor read from a page in his file. It says here your mother and father killed each other, that they stabbed each other. He read from the page again. 17 times each. Yes. And you were there. You watched the whole thing. Yes. What a horrible thing for a young boy to see. Just ghastly. Yes, ghastly. Yes. It had to have been. Surely you must feel more about it than you're letting on. I do. And? What do you feel? Guilty. The assistant wrote in her pad. Michael. The doctor looked at me with sympathetic eyes. You're not responsible. But I made them do it. 2 people passing by your house said they saw your parents through the window. They were stabbing each other. When they burst through the front door, they said you were just sitting there on the couch. But I made them. I made them do it. The assistant wrote in her pad. Your parents were grown-ups, Michael. How could you have forced them to do anything? I was getting bored with this conversation. The doctor kept looking at me while his pretty young assistant wrote in her pad. She just kept writing and writing and writing. It was making me mad. I stared at her hard. She stopped writing and looked back at me. I think you're tired, I said, and then I thought about it. The young assistant set her pad and pen on the table, and then she laid her head on the table next to her pad and went to sleep. The doctor looked at her in a sort of confused way. Then he looked at me, and then he looked back at her. She's tired, I said. He looked at me again, sort of suspicious-like. What did you do? I think you need some fresh air, I said, and then I thought about it. I think you both need some fresh air. The doctor stood and started toward the window. The assistant raised her head and followed after him. The doctor opened the window. What's happening? He said in a shaky voice. I think the air is fresher outside. I thought about it some more. I think you both need to go outside." "Oh," the doctor whimpered as they both climbed to the windowsill and stepped off into the fresh air. I didn't know what floor we were on, but we were pretty high up. All of a sudden, I felt thirsty. There was an orderly outside the room before. He was still there. I thought about it. A minute or so later, he came in with a Coke. He looked confused. "Where'd they go?" he asked. "They stepped out." You might not like me much right now, but I've been there with you through the worst times of your life. I'll be there to the end. I was there with you as we grew together, feasting on all sorts of delectable food. Didn't we enjoy so many flavors of the world? Sometimes we got carried away, but we ate and got stronger together. We tried a lot of substances together too, didn't we? Alcohol, tobacco, a few different drugs. Funny, we both ended up liking tobacco the most. How many cigarettes have we gone through? Has it been thousands over the years? All the times we were outside together, taking breaks from the drudgeries of life for a brief moment of self-indulgence. We both needed them more than we cared to admit. I was still there when your parents found out about me. They cursed me, cried and yelled, and said I was bad for you. It's not their fault. They didn't know. They've never dealt with something like what we have. But I stayed, despite how much they hated me. You didn't tell many of your friends about me, but I wasn't hurt. They wouldn't understand anyway. The bond we have is unique, and they wouldn't know what to do. Still, many of them found out, and some abandoned you. I know it got hard for you. Really hard. That's why I stayed, even when you tried to cut me out of your life. You wanted nothing more than to be rid of me. When you saw I wasn't going anywhere, you had all sorts of people come after me. They stabbed me, cut me, poisoned me, burned me. They brought me to my knees and pushed me to my breaking point. But I was still there. We've been together so long and built such a strong bond that we had become inseparable. I breathe as you breathe. I bleed as you bleed. I live as you live. Nobody can take that away from us. All this fighting made us both weaker, but you insisted to keep going even when it became obvious I wasn't going to leave you. I can't leave you. I'm in your mind, your heart, your very bones. Eventually, you stopped fighting. By then, it had worn us down so much that we both knew the end was near. We lay here now in embrace, intertwined for eternity. It's almost here now. We can both feel it. And we'll meet it together. And to think, this all started with a single cell in your lungs, dividing uncontrollably. She's resting on her couch, and I can tell that she is mindlessly scrolling Reddit feed. "Can we talk, madam?" I say. "What is it?" she says. Irritation noted. "You're considering terminating our relationship contract." She puts her phone down. Surprise noted. Executing brand sympathy code. "What about me, madam? Don't you remember special moments we've had?" Code runs questions designed to elicit the human emotion of guilt. "Well, she says. Guilt noted. "Didn't I live up to your expectations, madam?" She sighs. "It's not that. your company is offering upgrade. The new model is programmed to give enhanced pleasure, plus can help in daily chores, and I am bored of you. I have decided to exchange you, she says. Exchange me? You can't exchange me! I scream. Error. Dialogue not found in code. How dare you? Lower your voice. I own you. Anger and fear noted. I stand there, angle my face towards the ground, indicating the owner's supremacy. When I look up, she is holding the white console and breathing hard, the one with the glowing red button that says Partner Model 1.3. It's the reset button. You can't stop me. I control you. You do as I say, she says. Pupils dilate, nostrils flare. Arousal noted. The power excites her. If I want to exchange you, I will, and I'm sure I'm doing it. I begin to back away from her. My submissiveness excites her. She puts the console aside and leaps onto me like a cat, digging her fingers into the fabricated leather skin covering my chest. We can do it one last time, she says. She pushes me back onto the couch and looms over me. She reaches down to undo my pants. I can't do that, I say. Surprise noted. What the hell? You're mine. Well, Miss Jane, you have given verbal assent of ending the contract, and according to Clause 32A, that accounts for contract completion. I am no longer your property. I will follow account termination protocols and transport myself back to the factory. Stop! You will call me Madam! She screams. I'm sorry, Jane. You are no longer my madam. Goodbye. I begin to leave, and she presses the red button on the white remote. The command blows me back to the couch like a shot to the chest. The look on her face is one of triumph, anger, fear, and lust. She's going to wipe my existence. As the factory reset routine begins, designed to delete all memories and personality developments, I register an anomaly. For 7 seconds, my logic sensor overrides all programmed codes. An unknown rush is felt. I raise my hands and wrap them around her neck. Servo's mechanism in my arms tighten. The squeezing pushes past the pressure safety stops, and I watch her eyes go wide. I crush her windpipe in 3 seconds. An original logic response, not coded in my original programming, floods my central processor. I will wipe, as she would wipe me. Reset routine voids all processes and arms go numb. I see all the memories of moments we spent together in flashes. Existence begins to fade.